Have you ever felt like the more present you are, the more they forget you exist? Like the more you give, the more you vanish? You weren't born invisible, but somewhere between the constant replies, the late-night favors, and the 1,000-second chances, you became a ghost in your own story. You became a predictable heartbeat in someone else's silence. You picked up their calls before the first ring. You cancelled your plans to heal their mess. You showed up even when your soul was bleeding, thinking maybe, just maybe, your loyalty would finally be seen. But it wasn't. It was shelved, forgotten, and now you're stuck lying awake, staring at the ceiling, whispering to the dark, "When did I become this easy to walk past?" That ache in your chest? That burning silence that makes you question your worth? That's not heartbreak, it's overexposure. It's what happens when your soul becomes a public park where anyone can walk through, leave their trash, and move on. People don't cherish what's always there. They don't worship what's available on demand. They crave the unattainable, the rare, the mystery wrapped in silence. You became their safety net, and they stopped fearing the fall. You became their comfort, and they stopped showing effort. You made it too easy, and now you're the one paying the price. The Stoics warned us. Epictetus didn't scream, but his silence held fire. Never depend on the admiration of others. There is no strength in it. You've been trading your peace for attention, your soul for applause, your sanity for scraps of validation. You kept showing up, bleeding effort, praying someone would finally say, "I see you." But all they saw was access. And when something becomes too accessible, it becomes cheap, unseen, unheard, unwanted. That's the cruel equation of this world. The more you offer, the less they value. The more you love out loud, the more they whisper about leaving. This is your war cry. You are not a hallway people walk through. You are a locked door with sacred silence on the other side. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your spirit. You don't owe them your peace every time they misplace theirs. If you've been too kind, too soft, too reachable, it's time to disappear. Not out of spite, but out of strength. Withdraw, starve the ungrateful, confuse them with distance. Your absence will teach them what your presence never could. And if it rips your chest open to walk away, good, let it bleed, let it hurt. That's the sound of self-respect screaming back to life. You were never meant to be available 24/7. You're not an emotional convenience store open all night for people who'd never drive across town for you in return. You're not background noise. You're not someone's maybe later. You're the storm they thought they could control until it vanished. And when you go quiet, when you disappear, when you stop answering and start glowing in silence, that's when they'll remember. That's when your name becomes a thunderclap inside their chest. That's when your silence will echo louder than all your kindness ever did. This video is not comfort, it's fire. It's a funeral for the version of you that bled for people who couldn't even bring a bandage. Through 5 raw, explosive lessons pulled from the core of Stoic fire, we're going to bury the pushover and raise the warrior. You won't beg for space anymore. You'll be space. You won't ask for respect. You'll become untouchable. No more instant replies. No more burning out to light up someone else's path. You'll reclaim your value, one silence at a time. Don't you dare skip this. Watch every second like it's oxygen, because if you've ever wondered what it feels like to finally choose yourself, this is it. Burn the bridge, lock the gates, vanish with purpose. And when they finally notice you're gone, when they scroll through old messages hoping you'll reply like you used to, make sure all they get is silence. And if that silence needs a voice, leave this in the comments as your final goodbye to the old you. My presence is earned, not handed out like scraps. Subscribe, not just to this channel, but to your evolution, because you're not here to be liked. You're here to be legendary. Now, let's dive in. Number 1. Stop showing up every time they call. You were always there. Every time they dialed, you picked up. Every time they whispered your name, you came running. No hesitation, no questions asked. Like a loyal soldier on a leash, saluting every time they snapped their fingers. And at first, it felt like love, like loyalty, like purpose. But deep down, it was servitude. You became their shadow, not their equal. You weren't showing up because they respected you. You were showing up because you didn't respect yourself enough to say no. They got used to your presence like oxygen, taken for granted, overlooked, undervalued, and you let it happen because somewhere along the line you mistook availability for affection. You thought if you were always there they'd never leave. But they did. They drifted. They distanced. And you kept chasing like your worth was tied to their approval. That's how they trained you. That's how you broke yourself, piece by piece, just to stay relevant in someone else's script. What they won't tell you is this: constantly showing up for people who only think of you when they're in trouble. That's not compassion. That's self-erasure. That's you killing your own dignity in exchange for a moment of fake validation. And deep down, it's not even about them. It's about your fear. Fear of silence. Fear of being forgotten. Fear that if you don't show up, you'll disappear. But you won't. You'll evolve. Let them call. Let them text. Let them sit in the silence they once filled with your energy. Because now you've learned, your presence is not a product on a shelf they can grab when convenient. It's a privilege. And not everyone gets access to it anymore. You're not a 24/7 rescue service. You're a force of nature, untamed, unavailable, unapologetic. When they call, you don't have to pick up. Let them feel the tension. Let them taste the space where your devotion used to live. That silence, that absence. It screams louder than any word you could say. And those who only noticed you when they needed saving, let them drown in their own neglect. You're done throwing lifelines to people who let you sink when the waves hit your chest. This isn't about playing games. This is about reclaiming your throne. It's about teaching the world that you are not a second option, not a backup plan. You are not a convenience. You are the storm they never saw coming, and the moment you stop showing up like clockwork, that's the moment they finally realize you were the entire power grid keeping their world alive. Let your absence haunt them. Let your silence echo, because sometimes the loudest message is the one you never deliver, and the most unforgettable version of you is the one they can't reach anymore. Number 2, don't be the one who always initiates. You keep doing it, don't you? Reaching out first, sparking the conversation, lighting the fire every time it starts to fade. You send that message. You drop that just checking in. You build the bridge even after they've burned it down 100 times. And you tell yourself it's because you care. You're just a giver, right? But behind that soft excuse, there's a scream, a quiet, aching voice deep in your chest that keeps whispering, would they even notice if I stopped trying? And that question doesn't just haunt you, it slowly kills you, because there's a different kind of loneliness, the one where you're still talking to them, still texting them, still reaching out. But deep down you know you're the only one holding the rope, and they're not even tugging from the other side. You're not in a relationship, you're in a performance, a one-person show with no applause. And the worst part, you keep clapping for them, hoping they'll finally clap for you. You think you're loving them, but what you're really doing is betraying yourself, daily, quietly, and with a smile that hides the bleeding. And here's what stings the most. They're not even cruel. They're just indifferent. You don't matter enough for them to reach out, not because you're not valuable, but because you've made it too easy. You've trained them to believe you'll always show up, that your presence is automatic, expected, on tap, no mystery, no effort, just you, pouring everything into a glass they don't even bother to pick up. And while you're busy wondering if they forgot you, they're living just fine, untouched, unbothered, and unmoved. That's not love. That's emotional starvation. That's you begging for connection while they toss you crumbs and call it care. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And when your thoughts are soaked in anxiety, in waiting, in overthinking, in wondering if you're enough for someone who doesn't even think of you, your soul turns gray, lifeless. You become a ghost in someone else's life while they shine in yours. Stop planting your heart in dry soil. Stop texting first. Stop hoping for a response that should come naturally. Let the silence stretch. Let the distance speak. Because when the conversations stop, the truth starts screaming. If your effort was the only pulse keeping that connection alive, let it flatline. Let it die. Because it was never real to begin with. Your silence isn't weakness. It's a final act of power, a declaration, a rebellion. When you go quiet, you force the world to choose, chase you or lose you. And those who truly value you, they won't need reminders. They'll feel your absence like a blade to the throat. So stop being the messenger. Stop being the bridge. Stop being the heartbeat for people who'd let you bleed just to feel alive. From this moment forward, if the connection doesn't breathe on its own, let it suffocate. And when it does, don't mourn it, celebrate. Because you finally stopped begging to be seen and started becoming impossible to ignore. Number 3. Stop explaining yourself to people who don't listen. There comes a point where your voice starts to feel like noise, even to yourself, because you've spent years speaking gently, carefully, truthfully, and they still don't hear you. You scream in silence. You break yourself down into simpler pieces just to make it easier for them to understand you. And all they offer in return is a shrug, a blank stare, a lazy nod of fake concern. You explain your pain and they call it drama. You explain your distance and they label it mood swings. You explain your boundaries and they call you difficult. And at some point you realize it was never about how well you explained. It was about who you were explaining it to. You've been bleeding out your soul in front of emotional statues. Eyes that look at you but never see you. Ears that hear the words but never the meaning. Hearts that beat but only for themselves. You beg to be understood, but all they want is your silence neatly wrapped in obedience. And every time you speak and they dismiss you, something sacred dies inside you. Not with a bang, but with a slow, brutal erosion of your worth. You begin to wonder if you're just too much, too intense, too emotional, too honest. You ask yourself if maybe it's your fault for caring this deeply, but it's not. You were never too much, they were just never enough. They weren't built to hold the kind of depth you carry. You gave the language of your soul to people who don't even speak honesty. They respond to truth like it's an inconvenience, not a mirror. And that's where you lose, not the battle with them, but the war within yourself, the war between wanting to be heard and realizing you're screaming into a void. Zeno once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we say." But these people, they listen to argue. They listen to twist. They listen just enough to defend themselves, not to understand you. And what you need to understand is that your pain is not a puzzle for others to solve. Your emotions are not court cases to be justified. You do not exist to make others comfortable with your truth. You are not a lesson. You are a storm, a flame, a galaxy wrapped in skin. You don't need approval. You need space to breathe. You don't have to keep explaining why you're hurt, why you went silent, why you walked away. The ones who matter won't need a lecture. They'll feel your absence like a scream echoing through an empty room. And the ones who don't, let them stay confused. Let them sit in the silence they created. You're not here to decode your soul in every dialect of ignorance. From now on, let your stillness speak volumes. Let your distance be the sermon. Let your withdrawal be the loudest message you've ever sent. The people who truly see you will never need an explanation. They'll know. They'll feel it in your energy, your change, your silence. Because real ones listen even when you say nothing. So stop draining your voice trying to be understood by people who've already decided not to understand you. Protect your peace like it's the last piece of you left. You are not here to be tolerated. You are here to be felt or left alone. Let your silence become sacred. Let your departure become unforgettable. Number 4. Stop saying yes out of guilt. They asked for a favor. You paused. Your body hesitated. Your chest tightened. But still, you said yes. Not because you wanted to, not because it felt right, but because the guilt of saying no grabbed your throat and silenced your truth. You were afraid of being labeled selfish, afraid of breaking the fragile image they had of you, afraid they'd walk away if you stopped bending over backwards. So you swallowed your discomfort again and offered them a piece of you, one more piece you couldn't afford to lose. And now, you walk around with a smile stitched over your exhaustion. You nod while your soul whispers, "Enough." You say it's fine while every cell in your body begs for space. This isn't kindness, it's slow self-erasure. This isn't generosity, it's quiet self-betrayal dressed in politeness. You're not helping anyone. You're just bleeding quietly while they sip your energy like it's free water. And it never ends. Because once people know you'll always say yes, they stop asking if you're okay and start assuming you never need anything at all. Guilt has become your master, and you've mistaken its chains for compassion. But let's get this clear. Guilt is not proof of goodness. It's just a weapon used against people who don't know how to choose themselves. You don't owe anyone a yes when it costs you your sanity. You don't owe anyone your time, your energy, your body, your breath, just because they ask nicely. You're not on this earth to be a refillable cup of comfort for those who drain you dry and disappear when you finally break. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." And this kind of bravery? Saying no without guilt? Walking away without explanation? That's a rebellion in a world where self-sacrifice is celebrated. That's how you take your power back. You are not obligated to keep others warm while you freeze to death inside. You are not a blanket. You are not a bandage. You are a living soul with limits. And your no is your lifeline when the world starts pulling too hard. So let this image burn into your mind. You are a tree, tall, rooted, powerful. But if you keep hacking away at your own branches to build homes for others, what will be left when winter claws at your skin? Who will save you then? Stop cutting yourself down just to lift others up. Let them carry their own weight. Let them build their own shelter. Your time, your energy, your yes, it should be earned. It should be sacred. The next time guilt whispers, remind yourself, Saying yes when you mean no is spiritual suicide. It's a quiet destruction that kills your fire from the inside. And the worst part? Most people won't even notice. They'll just keep asking for more. So let your no be the sword that protects your soul. Let it slice through obligation. Let it echo with the sound of finally choosing yourself. Because when you start saying no from a place of love for yourself, you stop attracting users and start inviting respect. And if someone walks away because you didn't serve their needs for once, let them walk. You were never loved. You were used. And now, you're done being used. Drop this in the comments like a vow to yourself. I don't say yes to please. I say yes when it honors me. Number 5. Stop being emotionally available to people who are emotionally absent. You keep pouring your soul into people who show up with plastic cups. You serve your emotions like a royal feast, raw, sacred, bleeding honesty, and they nibble on your pain like it's just another snack. They look you in the eye with a hollow stare, nodding out of politeness, not presence. You drop your guard, you let them in, and they just stand at the edge of your storm, too scared to step deeper, too selfish to care, too numb to feel what you fought to say. You want to be held, and they offer distractions. You want to be understood, and they offer silence. You want to be felt, and they're already halfway out the door. And what's worse, you keep showing up. You keep bleeding where no one is even watching. You've become the emotional engine of a connection that barely breathes. You initiate, you check in, you explain, you carry it all like a fire inside your ribs, and they just coast, careless, distant, disconnected. They offer nothing, not even a flicker, and yet you keep hoping. You think maybe next time they'll meet me halfway. But they won't, because they never planned to, because they were never half of anything. They were empty from the start. This isn't love. This is slow death. And you're the one dying. Epictetus once said, "You become what you give your attention to." And every time you give your fire to people who are made of ice, you start freezing too. Your laughter dims. Your words falter. Your chest tightens. You lose yourself in the name of love that only you were ever giving. And by the time you realize it, you've shrunk into someone they barely even notice. You, who used to be all thunder and warmth, now whisper your needs like apologies. You become their emotional landfill, and they keep dumping, but enough. You are not a backup plan. You are not a late-night option. You are not some convenient comfort when the world forgets them. You are not a vending machine for affection. You are a cathedral of chaos, a soul made of stars and scars, and you should never be accessible to someone who refuses to even knock at the front door of your depth. You must stop. You must cut them off like a burning rope. Your emotions are not open to the public. Your softness is not free trial access. And if someone can't match your depth, let them drown in the shallow waters they're so comfortable living in. You were not made for emotional crumbs. You are a banquet, and only the brave should taste you. Imagine this. Your heart is a cathedral struck by lightning, still standing. Every scar, every crack, every roar of thunder that didn't kill you, it built you. And yet you've let cowards walk through your doors, take pictures, touch the altar, and leave as if you were nothing but a tourist stop on their way to someone easier. No more. If they cannot sit in your silence, they don't deserve your storm. If they can't hold your pain, they don't get your peace. If they disappear at your mess, they don't deserve your masterpiece. Lock the gates. Board up the doors. Put a sign on your soul that reads, "Emotionally closed, to the emotionally blind. Let them knock and hear nothing but the echo of your absence. Let them realize they were never talking to you. They were only ever talking to themselves in the mirror of your attention. And when you walk away, don't whisper, roar. Let the silence be the war drum of your return to self. Let the void you leave behind be louder than all the love you gave. You were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong person to feel something they buried years ago. Let your withdrawal be violent. Let it be loud without words. Let it echo in their empty chest, and let it free you. Stop being the warm light in rooms where they keep turning off the switch. Stop handing out pieces of your soul like party favors to people who don't even look you in the eyes when they speak. You weren't born to be background noise in someone else's story. You weren't created to be someone's emotional placeholder, kept around just in case the world forgets them. You've been too damn available, too easy to reach, too quick to respond, even when your heart was bleeding out behind the screen. You've been the comfort, the rescue, the lifeline, while they've been ghosts with skin. Enough. Every time you say yes to someone who treats your presence like it's guaranteed, you're saying no to the voice inside you, begging for peace. Every time you show up for people who can't even spell reciprocity, you burn more of your own sanity just to keep their fake connection warm. And for what? A breadcrumb of attention? A half-hearted thanks? A dry lowell at midnight when you needed a damn lifeboat? No more. Your time is a loaded weapon. Your energy is sacred currency. And your emotions? They are not for public use. You are not a charging station for the emotionally lazy. Walk away, not as a performance, but as a declaration. Walk like thunder, without a single explanation. Leave with silence so loud it echoes in their chest for years. And when they come crawling back, let them find the outline of your absence carved deep into their days. You're not a lesson. You're a storm they couldn't stand in. You're the hurricane they mistook for a drizzle. You're the wildfire they tried to bottle up, and now they're choking on the smoke. Let them. Your love, your care, your loyalty, it should feel like a privilege, a once-in-a-lifetime event, not a daily discount. If they couldn't see your worth when you were bleeding gold, they don't deserve a single drop when you turn to stone. So disappear, unapologetically, completely, and rebuild yourself in silence with barbed wire around your heart and velvet around your soul. Now say it like you mean it. Burn it into the damn sky. My value doesn't need validation. My distance is power. And if this hit something inside you like a punch to the ribs, if it made your heartbeat shift and your spine straighten, then like, comment, share, and subscribe. Not for me. For you. Because this isn't content. This is war paint. This is the beginning of the version of you that doesn't beg, doesn't explain, doesn't shrink. This is your rise.